Hello. It's been a long time. We kind of took a few months off, right? Kind of got through the holidays. I was traveling, and then I'm going to blame Rebecca because she traveled the last 2 weeks, even though
Yeah.
I was the one traveling most of the time. And Paul was always at the ready to go. So you can blame Rebecca and I for
Yeah.
us not having recorded a podcast in a little while. There have been variants and New Year's and holidays and all sorts of stuff happening. And
Yeah.
we're back together in the same Zoom room, looking at each other's faces, and everybody looks good. Hi, guys.
Hi.
Good to be back.
Right. So welcome to the 164 Forever podcast for newcomers to OA, I guess. I mean, that's just sort of the theme of the podcast. We're not official or anything. We basically focus on the simple 12 steps of recovery, and we use that for our compulsive eating. We go to OA meetings, although there's a lot of different food programs with 12-step focus. Find whatever works for you. This is just what works for us. And if what you're doing just isn't working, just consider giving OA a try. We're glad that you're here. And we have a YouTube channel, a Podbean channel. There's a website, all that information. Just go to the description below. You're going to find all the links you need to find us anywhere you may or may not need to find us. We're not experts. We're just people who don't know how to feed themselves without sponsors and books, big books about Alcoholics Anonymous. And we're doing a lot better now, and it feels really good. And so we wanted to share that through this podcast. My name's Carol. I'm a compulsive eater. I'm in the Los Angeles area. Let's say hello to our fellows and co-podcasters. I've got Rebecca.
Hi, I'm Rebecca, calling from the UK. Really, really grateful to be with you.
Yay. And Paul G.
Hey, welcome to all of you, and so happy we're back. I'm hailing from Southern California. It's not hailing here. The weather's great, and good to be back with you all.
Yay. So in our last podcast, so many months ago, when was it? October, we talked about steps 7 and 8. Oh, no, not, I need to update this, right? 7 and 8, no, 8 and 9. What did we do? 8, 9. We just did 9. We did 7 and 8, and then we did 9. Those are all in the past. You can click on the old podcast and see 7 and 8 and 9. And now we're going to talk about 10 and 11. So steps 1 through 5 have prepared us, right? We saw that we were powerless. We saw that there was a solution. We made a decision. And then we identified the things that were blocking us from our higher powers. We shared this with another person. We got their input. We saw our character defects and how they affected those around us and ourselves and others. And we asked God to help remove our shortcomings. And then we set about making restitution, making things right, making our amends. And that wasn't, it wasn't enough to just admit our wrongs. We needed to make things right with the people that we had hurt. And so we did all that. And then all that brings us to steps 10 and 11. And 10 is continued to take personal inventory. And when we were wrong, promptly admitted it. And step 11 is sought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God as we understood him, praying only for knowledge of his will for us and the power to carry that out. And I thought it might be nice to, I'm going to do a little big book reading. I'm going to read about step 10, and then we'll talk about step 10, and then I'll read about 11, and we'll talk about 11. So on page 84 is where the big book gets into step 10. So this thought brings us to step 10, which suggests we continue to take personal inventory and continue to set right any new mistakes as we go along. We vigorously commenced this way of living as we cleaned up the past. We have entered the world of the spirit. Our next function is to grow in understanding and effectiveness. This is not an overnight matter. It should continue for our lifetime. Continue to watch out for selfishness, dishonesty, resentment, and fear. When these crop up, we ask God at once to remove them. We discuss them with someone immediately, and we make amends quickly if we've harmed anyone. Then we resolutely turn our thoughts to someone we can help. Love and tolerance of others is our code. And then it gets into the 10th step promises, which is, and we have ceased fighting anything or anyone, even alcohol, for by this time sanity will have returned. We will seldom be interested in liquor. If tempted, we recoil from it as from a hot flame. We react sanely and normally, and we will find that this has all happened automatically. We will see that our new attitude toward liquor has been given us without any thought or effort on our part. It just comes. That is the miracle of it. We are not fighting it, neither are we avoiding temptation. We feel as though we had been placed in a position of neutrality, safe and protected. We have not even sworn off. Instead, the problem has been removed. It does not exist for us. We are neither cocky nor are we afraid. That is our experience. That is how we react so long as we keep in fit spiritual condition. It is easy to let up on the spiritual program of action and rest on our laurels, right? That's so easy for all of us. We are headed for trouble if we do, for alcohol is a subtle foe. We are not cured of alcoholism. What we really have is a daily reprieve contingent on the maintenance of our spiritual condition. Every day is a day we must carry the vision of God's will into all of our activities. How can I best serve thee? Thy will, not mine, be done. These are thoughts which must go with us constantly. We can exercise our willpower along these lines all we wish. It is the proper use of the will. And then there's a prayer down here too. Well, this is all full of prayers, but much has already been said about receiving strength, inspiration, and direction from him who has all knowledge and power. If we have carefully followed directions, we have begun to sense the flow of his spirit into us. To some extent, we have become God conscious. We have begun to develop this vital sixth sense, but we must go further, and that means more action. So that is the reading in the big book about step 10. Who would like to go first?
Yeah, like I'm happy to jump in here.
Yay.
Compulsive overeater. And yeah, that reading there, you know, where it's saying it's easy for us to let up on our spiritual program of action and rest on our laurels. Because for me, coming to step 10 after having done that whole inventory and sharing it with my sponsor and looking at the defects and praying on them and asking them to be let go of, and then making amends, making that list, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work, right? But we're being reminded here that there's more work to come, and that even though we've done that work, we still got to do more. So yeah, you know, 10 is a kind of consolidation or a continuation of what we've done in 4 and 5 anyway. It's looking every day at whatever might crop up and asking our higher power, help me with this, help me with my part in this. You know, it's that constant process of things come up and then we say, that's come up again. Oh, right, that's me. That's me in a nutshell. God, help me with this. How can I best serve thee? Thy will, not mine, be done. Again and again and again. And it's a practice. And 10 is teaching me this practice. And I'll be doing it every day, constantly, one day at a time for the rest of my life, God willing. But yeah, you know, it's interesting that some of the big book chapters go into a lot of detail about the steps, but this is kind of a shortish reading comparatively, just because it's been explained when it went into 4, you know, about dishonesty, self-seeking, about fears, about resentment. That's what 10 is all about. It's, you know, so we've done the big clear out, but things still get dusty. You know, it's not like you clean up once and that's it forever. Life happens and things get dusty, things crop up, and 10 helps us to kind of deal with that, because I'm still emotional, I'm still human, and I still need my higher power to help me see, help me remove. I heard somebody the other day describe 10 and 11, like 10 keeps the kind of channel clear. So it keeps the channel clear from my ego. And then 11 is like filling the channel with God's love or your higher power's love. So it's clearing the channel, then filling it up in the right way. And then 12, which we'll come to later, is about then giving it away, allowing other people to have access to this channel, the kind of flow channel. And I really like that, just kind of clearing up the channel. So there's nothing wrong with me. Like, you know, it's not that I'm fundamentally bad. That's why I've got to do 10 steps. It's just about staying unblocked and staying close to my higher power. Yeah.
Yeah, brilliant, Rebecca. I heard that same the other day. I've heard that twice in one week now, actually third time, including you. So I guess I need to pay attention to that. The 10th step is, it's way more than the price of admission. I just didn't even know what I would get from doing 10 steps. I had no clue. And the idea that I come into program and I graduate. Okay, I did 1 through 12, done. Thanks a lot. Great, got my diploma. Never going to have another problem. What I found is that this design for living, this living solution for the living problem I had, requires that I stay in fit spiritual condition. In order to do that, as Rebecca said, I need to clear away all those things that block me from a conscious contact with a higher power. Who knew that all those things, that when I have a resentment or that I'm afraid to take action, that I was blocked from hearing, any guidance and direction from a power greater than myself. And I just remember my sponsor when we did the 5th step, and I've said it before on this podcast, I was clueless about the 4th column in the 4th step. I mean, I truly, okay, yeah, I was selfish, tick, I was self-centered, tick, I was afraid, tick, but I didn't really see how the hell did I get the ball rolling in this. And that's what the 10th step showed me. And my sponsor said, you're building a skill in steps 4 and 5. And then of course, 6, 7, 8, and 9, we're building a skill that step 10 allows us to exercise every day. And holy guacamole, man, I have learned so much about myself from doing 10 steps. And, the big book gives you a very, concrete way to do a 10 step. And one of the things my sponsor told me when I got started doing 10 steps, he says, you're going to find people do them every which way, so, for me to get onto a 10 step call and say, no, you're not doing it correctly. You need to be doing it this way. No, I listen to people and I listen to them share their part in their disturbances and their fears. And when I started looking at my selfishness, it was like, oh my gosh, wow, I didn't know that was selfish, that you're not following my script and that pisses me off. No, that's selfishness, and you're not meeting my expectations. So what? That's selfishness. And the great thing is it's not about being right. That being right is the booby prize. It's about getting underneath why I am irritated and why I'm afraid. And what's funny is that I do less resentments this day, which, of course, it may have something to do that I'm retired and I stay at home most of the time. I don't have as many people to irritate me and not follow my script. But what I see all the time are my fears. And doing 10 steps have really clued me in on what some of those core fears are that have been running the show my entire life, that were running amok, self-will run riot, that I didn't know were even there. And, this 10th step keeps on opening up who I am and how I am dealing with the people around me, the people I love, how I'm dealing with God, my trust in God and my fears. I see, oh my gosh, self-reliance. Paul, that self-reliance doesn't work. Why is it that you're always going back there? But that's what 10 steps get me to see, is to see over and over and over again that, I'm not running the show. I don't do a good job of running the show. And I never have, even when I thought I did. So I heard another speaker say that when we relapse, it's often step 2 and 10. And I relapsed, and when I looked back, I had been afraid to do step 10. What if I do them wrong? What if I'm missing the important points? I don't want to embarrass my sponsor. He gave me this number to call. I don't want to do it wrong. And, do it. And I had people that taught me, I had some great teachers that they shared all their fears. They shared it. And it's like I learned from them. And what I saw is that came to believe that a power greater than myself shows up in my 10 steps. I just need to be willing to do the work, and I will learn more, and God will show me more. My higher power, I call God, will show me more every time I do one. And I'm grateful for that. And with that, I'll pass.
Thanks. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the 10th step for me is like what keeps me, I guess, sane when I'm doing it, right? I'm human. There are times I go a couple days or a week, even like, traveling. And my level of crazy can be directly linked to the amount of 10 steps I'm doing in a day, right? Um, and what happens is life happens, right? And life causes me to turn to my character defects, right? And for an alcoholic, their main character defect is that they just drink constantly. And for me, my main character defect is that food is the answer to all my problems, right? Yes, I'm bitchy. Yes, I tell people they're stupid. I'm bossy. I tell people what to do. I get in their faces. I'm a bit of a bully. I'm all that stuff. But my biggest character defect is that life feelings turn me to food. I run to the loving arms of a whatever you want to put in there. We have a friend who always says that. I run to the refrigerator, right? I mean, I have thought in the past, you might as well put a pillow in front of the refrigerator so you can get on your knees and pray to the damn refrigerator, because that is your thing. But what short circuits that is doing a 10th step, right? We call it doing a 10th step. If you're really new, you're like, what is that? It says right here. So we continue to take personal inventory. Now, the only other time in this book I see that word personal inventory is step 4. So I go back to step 4 and I see, how do they do personal inventory, right? And Paul's right. People do these a lot of different ways. And some people are very like, I do call sometimes people and they'll go, oh, start here, start with this. No, tell me that. And I do the columns, especially when something's bothering me. But what I do mostly is what it says here, which is, let's see, when these crop up, what are these? These are selfishness, dishonesty, resentment, and fear. We ask God to remove them. We discuss them with someone immediately, and we make amends quickly if we've harmed anyone. It doesn't say we call a fellow OA member and discuss them. It can be anyone, although I do 90% of the time probably discuss them with a fellow OA member, but we discuss them with someone. And if there's not an OA around, you can discuss them with your partner or your best friend or just another human being, a pastor, a rabbi. It doesn't matter. It's me admitting to another person, like, I am selfish, dishonest, self-seeking, resentful. I want to run the show. I want to, they said, you want to be right or do you want to be, I want to be right and happy. I want to be right and peaceful about it. And I want that person to see how wrong they are. And I think I'm running the show and I'm not trusting my higher power most of the time. We were kind of talking about it before we hit the record button. I can wake up and do my prayer and meditation. And it's just like getting out of the shower. I just step into the crazy. I just step right out of meditation. I can sit there for 5 minutes or 20 minutes. And then I'm like, oh gosh, I'm so peaceful. And now I'm crazy. Now my boyfriend has come in and he brewed the coffee all over the counter. And now I'm friggin' crazy. It is not the coffee maker's fault that you don't stick the coffee pot. 10 step. I gotta step back. I gotta step back before everything blows up. Right. Because life just happens. And it's funny. I had a newcomer outreaching me and she was like, she kept talking. And I was like, it sounds like you feel like you're supposed to be serene all the time. And she's like, yes, and I'm not. And I was like, congratulations. That's like, and maybe there are. I mean, it's hard because, you go to meetings and you hear these speakers speak and you're like, wow, they're so serene. But you only see them in a meeting. You only hear them. You don't get to see them when they're like at home screaming at their husband or their wife or their partner or, you know what I mean? Like, and that we're all human. It happens to all of us. Like, there's no way that it doesn't happen to them too. So, but this is so step 10 is a daily practice of 4 through 9. It's just 4 through 9 condensed, right? It's all right here in this little paragraph right here. And I don't want to go on too long because we have a whole nother step to talk about. But in the second paragraph of the step 10 it's really the third, I guess, paragraph on 84, it says, where does it say? This is not an overnight matter. It should continue for our lifetime. Continue to watch out for selfishness, dishonest, self-seeking, and resentment and fear. That's step 4. When these crop up, we ask God to remove them. That's step 6 and 7 right there. Boom. We discuss them with someone else. That's step 5. You're talking about them with somebody else. And we make amends if we've harmed anyone. That's steps 8 and 9 right there. So you've got steps 4 through 9 basically in like, what is that? Like, is that one sentence or 2 sentences or 3? It's like so compacted right there. But it's just a daily practice of all those, how you always hear, oh, when you quit doing the steps, you'll be dead. Well, this is what they mean. You're doing all these steps. And the thing is, step 3, you decide, I made a decision to turn my will and my life over to God, but I'm all congested from God. And so what do I have to do? I have to do 4 through 9 to get uncongested so that I can, well, in this case, it'll be 10, so that I can get to 12 or 11. So I can get to the prayer and meditation and hear God's message for me, right? Because if not, then I sit down to pray and meditate, and all I think is that mother effer, that guy, this thing, that thing, those people, this pandemic, this, like, I can't hear anything. All I hear is myself, my own ego reflecting, justifying and all sorts of stuff right back to me. So I think we have beaten step 10 like a dead horse, whatever that phrase is.
Yeah. One last thing that my sponsor told me, and I've shared it hundreds of times, is that we will never rise above the level of being human beings. And that's why our basic instincts are part of our personal inventory, because our basic instincts are running the show. And that's what we get the opportunity to do, is that, yeah, I'm going to feel crazy some days, and that's okay. I can do a 10 step. So thanks for that.
Yeah.
I love that. And I love the part of the aim of the 10 step, which is I'm at me, I'm in my defects, I'm in my basic instincts. It's me, and my feelings, what's going on with me. And then we do that turn to others, to kind of being useful.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Away from
Beautiful.
so good.
Yeah. So that I can hear God again, because all day long stuff, it's like whatever, a drain, a car, whatever you want to call it. Like, you don't just like get a tune up and then drive your car for 10 years and go, what? I tuned it up in like 98. What's up? Why is it not running today? Like, what are you talking about? Like, no, you have to take it in every 3 months or 3,000 miles or whatever it is. And it's got to be, but for us. And the other thing with the 10 step, which I'll just mention, because I know some people think you just do it at the end of the day. You do it all throughout the day. Anytime someone pisses you off, anytime anything happens that gives you a feeling, anytime you're just thinking about food, somewhere in there's a 10th step. Somewhere there's something that's like, rousing my character defects, and I need to do it. And I'm not perfect. I don't do it all that, like, I wish I was perfect, and maybe one day I will be better at it. And that's the thing, is we continue to grow along spiritual lines. It doesn't say, oh, I worked the steps with my sponsor and now I'm a perfect spiritual enlightened being. Nope. Now I got a lot of work to do. You pray and you take action. Like, if you want potatoes, you pray to God for potatoes, and then you pick up your spade and you start planting, right? You don't just like wait for potatoes to jump out of the soil. That's not going to happen. Like, you got to like do the work. So this is that work. So page 85, I'm going to do a little more reading. Sorry, I don't like reading too much on the podcast. I feel like it's boring, but let's read about step 11. I don't mean the book is boring. I mean hearing myself reading it. So step 11 suggests prayer and meditation. Suggests strongly, right? Like, what do people say? It's suggested that you put on a parachute before you jump out of an airplane. So this is that kind of a suggestion. We suggest that you pray and meditate. We shouldn't be shy on this matter of prayer. Better men than we are using it constantly. It works if we have the proper attitude and work at it. It would be easy to be vague about this matter, yet we believe we can make some definite and valuable suggestions. When we retire at night, we constructively review our day. So see, that's step 11, not at the end of the night. No, that's not 10. Do we owe an apology? That's 8 and 9. And again, we're already talking about all the steps again. It's like let's see, I'm just jumping around. Do we owe an apology? Have we kept something to ourselves which should have been discussed with another person at once? Were we kind and loving toward all? What could we have done better? Were we thinking of ourselves most of the time? Were we thinking of what we could do for others, of what we could pack into the stream of life? But we must be careful not to drift into worry, remorse, or morbid reflection, for that would diminish our usefulness to others. After making our review, we ask God's forgiveness and inquire what corrective measures should be taken. On awakening, let us think about the 24 hours ahead. We consider our plans for the day. Before we begin, we ask God to direct our thinking, especially asking that it be divorced from self-pity, dishonest, or self-seeking motives. Under these conditions, we can employ our mental faculties with assurance, after all, God gave us brains to use. Our thought life will be placed on a much higher plane when our thinking is cleared of wrong motives. In thinking about the day, we may face indecision. We may not be able to determine which course to take. Here we ask God for inspiration and intuitive thought or decision. We relax and we take it easy. We don't struggle. We are often surprised how the right answers come after we have tried this for a while. What used to be the hunch or occasional inspiration gradually becomes a working part of the mind. Being still inexperienced and having just made conscious contact with God, it is not probable that we are going to be inspired at all times. We might pay for this presumption in all sorts of absurd actions and ideas. Nevertheless, we find that our thinking will, as time passes, be more and more on the plane of inspiration. We come to rely on it. We usually conclude the period of meditation with a prayer that we be shown all through the day what our next step is to be, that we be given whatever we need to take care of such problems. We ask especially for freedom from self-will and are careful to make no requests for ourselves only. We may ask for ourselves, however, if others will be helped. We are careful never to pray for our own selfish ends. Many of us have wasted a lot of time doing that, and it doesn't work. You can easily see why. If circumstances warrant, we ask our wives or friends to join us in morning meditation. If we belong to a religious denomination, which requires definite morning devotion, we attend to that too. If not members of religious bodies, we sometimes select and memorize a few set prayers, which emphasize the principles we have been discussing. There are many helpful books also. Suggestions about these may be obtained from one's priest, minister, rabbi. Be quick to see where religious people are right. Make use of what they offer. As we go through the day, we pause when we are agitated or doubtful, and we ask for the right thought or action. We constantly remind ourselves we are no longer running the show, humbly saying to ourselves many times each day, thy will be done. We are then in much less danger of excitement, fear, anger, worry, self-pity, or foolish decisions. We become much more efficient. We do not tire so easily, for we are not burning up energy foolishly as we did when we were trying to arrange life to suit ourselves. It works. It really does. We alcoholics are undisciplined, so let God discipline us in the simple ways we have just outlined. But this is not all. There is action and more action. Faith without works is dead. The next chapter is entirely devoted to step 12. Faith without works is dead, right? You can have faith the potato is going to grow, but if you don't get out there and plant some damn potatoes in that soil, they ain't going to grow. So you got to get to work. That's a big part of it. Paul, you want to go first on this one since Rebecca went first last time?
Sure. I was just looking in the step book, and in step 11, it says the spiritual principle is spiritual awareness. And what I got when I started doing step 11, I started with the suggestions that were in the big book, and they're great suggestions to start with. And I never have to change from those suggestions if I don't want to, but I've tried different things and I've used different things. And I've seen that having a practice is the key for me. And when I work with sponsees, I just remind them this is a practice. There's no perfection. My emoji is not, going to end up with a halo on it if I do an 11th step every day, in the morning and in the evening. And I don't do 11 steps perfectly. There's mornings when I get up and I want to do an 11th step, and maybe I get a call or I get onto a meeting or something else, and it's like the morning is gone, and I haven't laid the foundation for the day, and I miss that. And sometimes I wait till the end of the night when I'm doing a nightly review, and it's like I forget. I forget. And if I do it a little bit earlier in the evening, it helps. But it's the awareness. It's the awareness. Gosh, what was running the show today? Was I pausing and looking for direction? One of the best things that I heard in a speaker share one time, if you go to page 85 that Carol just read, and she said, much has already been said about receiving strength, inspiration, and direction from him who has all knowledge and power. And they called their higher power Sid. Strength, inspiration, and direction. Just go talk to Sid, see what Sid has to say. And it's just, things like that, those pearls of wisdom help remind me that I'm not the one running the show. And the 10 steps kind of are the precursor to me seeing that I've been trying to run the show my whole life. And frankly, I could have a lot to learn by letting someone else run the show. So I see my 10 steps. Some days I do a short reading of, 85 and through 88. And sometimes I say some prayers. I like to listen to some specific hymns. Sometimes before I listen to a meditation, I have an 18-minute, basically an 11-step meditation that I listen to some mornings when I have the time to do it. And I hold a pen in my hand, and as I listen to the meditation, and it starts with, we look at our day, we look at the next 24 hours. Steps 10 and 11 don't take me through the next month. It's a daily practice. And that's how I stay present during the day. So, I look at, when things come up, I write down what comes, and maybe it's a to-do. Maybe it's something, inspiration. And I don't know always why I'm writing them down, but when I would work with sponsees, a lot of times exactly what I had written down that day for me was a message that I could share with my sponsees that day in a call when they were working on a step, or they were troubled by something. So I think the biggest thing to say is, like you'll hear many times, the only way to do it wrong is not doing it. And to know that it's expanding my life the more that I do it. It's giving me an opportunity to hear that, the soft whispers, the inspiration, and to pay attention to those. And yeah, I've tried a lot of different things, and I don't do the same thing every day. Sometimes there's a run of days. I've seen people do amazing 11-step reviews for the day. And once again, it's our spiritual path that takes us there. And I guess with that, I'll pass.
Yeah, yeah, that's a wonderful kind of summary of that step. Absolutely. And I echo that. I really believe that, yeah, step 11 is one of my favorites, and it's kind of a creative and evolving thing, which I think can be a bit scary when you come to it, because you might be the kind of person who likes something prescribed, do this, do that, right? But this is an invitation to grow in the relationship with your higher power in the way that kind of suits you, because it's your higher power. And yeah, just like my friend said, like, music really connects with me. So that's part of my step 11 practice, to have some kind of quiet music, that helps me feel connected to God, But some people like to write and do two-way prayer in their 11 practice. Perfect. Some people read prayers. Perfect. Some people memorize them or make them up. Wonderful. It's about what is going to help you to connect. It's about being a seeker. And yeah, Paul so beautifully said, there's different parts, kind of 3 main suggestions in this step: prayer, meditation, and this kind of nightly review practice, where we just go through our day and we do the kind of final cleanup, where we say, yeah, did I harm anyone? What's still on my mind? What do I still need to say? Who did I need to apologize to? Was today full of gratitude? Was I holding my higher power's hand, or was I trying to call the shots today? And then you leave it. We're invited to leave it in a place where it's like, well, we don't go into remorse. We don't kind of, oh my gosh, today sucked and I was so terrible at recovery. We say, hey, God, thanks for today. This is how it was. Yeah, please grant me another day. Help me tomorrow. Help me in my recovery. Help me in my everything. And then we sleep relaxed, Then we just relax and take it easy. But yeah, to me, this is a kind of like, yeah, creative, sort of like, I don't know what the right word for it is, kind of like a growing, yeah, cultivating sort of step. And there's no right way, wrong way, just to do it and to be engaged in it. And there are so many. We're in a fellowship full of suggestions about how to do this. If you like, oh, I need somewhere to start, and that panics you. And if not, yeah, you can kind of just go for it. And, and the meditation in the big book, just really, like, I listen to it every day. you know, on Awakening, it just takes you through step by step. This is the kind of thing you want to inhabit in order to be free. You know, this is how I need to conduct my day, where I let go and I ask my higher power to help me. And it's for me, it's a really beautiful way to start the day, and to kind of, as a kind of, I don't know, North Star to when I get into trouble. It reminds me I need to pause. Oh, when's the last time I asked God to direct me? Oh yeah, maybe about like 5 hours ago. I need to pause and ask God to direct me right now. Yeah, great guidance. That's
Great.
it.
I want to get one thing in.
Horseshack. You sound like Horseshack now.
So
none of the kids will get that reference, but
so many moons ago we did a podcast on two-way prayer, and I just wanted to plug two-way prayer as a great spiritual practice and just bring it back into our memory. So with that, CJ, it's all yours.
Yes, and hopefully I will remember, and I will put the link in the description below. But if not, just scroll through the podcast. You'll see the one about two-way prayer. But it's great. It's fun. Google it. You'll find it. Two-way prayer.
Amazing.
Yeah, so amazing. And you know, getting a pen or a pencil and putting it to paper is just magical. You know, it's something happens different than when you're just typing in a computer or anything else. Like so, but yeah, like I mean, I don't even have a lot to say on this other than step 11 teaches me how to pray, right? I used to pray like, you know, keep this person safe and to cure this person of that. And, you know, and I'm basically giving God a list, a to-do list, a honey-do list for tomorrow, as they say, like, here's all the stuff you have to do tomorrow, God. And I don't do that anymore. It's just, you just pray for God's will and the power to carry it out, because God's will is ultimately always going to be whatever is best for anybody, right? So if Paul's sick, I don't need to pray, God, heal my friend Paul from the flu. I can just be like, you know, God's will. God is going to take care of Paul. It's not my job to cure Paul's flu or whoever, you know, whatever's going on with everyone. And so, you know, it's funny because I'll see sometimes in the WhatsApp groups, hey, everybody pray for this person. And I'm always like, I don't even know what to say, because all I can pray for is God's will and the power to carry it out. I'm not really here to pray that God's going to cure that person. That's not really my job. God is going to take care of things, whether I pray it or not, whether you pray it or not. Sometimes I even feel weird when they in the meetings say, now let's have a moment of silence for those still sick and suffering in and outside of the rooms. God's will, like it's God's will. Maybe they're out there because they need to learn a lesson and they need to eat a little more and they're going to get back on track. Like it's not, you know, it's not my job to pray somebody back into the rooms. God will take care of that. I have no power over that. I can't bring someone back in the rooms. But you know what I can do is sometimes someone will pop into my head when I think that, and I go, maybe I should just call them and say hi, or text them and say, hey, what's up? And say, you know, to me, that is so much more powerful than just thinking about somebody for like a second or half a second. Is like, make that call, do that thing. And that's kind of what this book is about action and asking God, like, if something pops into my head, is that for a reason? Yeah, probably. If somebody pops into my head and I haven't seen them around for a little bit, that's probably a reason. And even just me saying hi and them never responding, fine. At least they know somebody in the rooms thought about them and reached out, and maybe they're not ready or whatever. I don't even know why I'm going down that path, but really it just teaches me how to pray. I'm just here to pray for God's will, and that God will just give me the power to carry it out, because it is not, you know, like my will is, I don't know. I don't see the big picture. I don't know what's going on. So there's no real point in that.
You've highlighted a really, really key a difference to my life before program as to now. You know, I was always in the outcomes business. I wanted to control how it's going to turn out. This is going to happen. God, let that happen. This should happen. With a kind of like, you know, list to Santee. But like, you know,
what a good person I am because I'm praying for you, right? What a good person I am because I prayed for you. Like, get out.
But now we're in the actions business. So, you know, I ask my higher power, help me for the next day. You know, your will, not mine, be done. And I take the actions. I do my kind of 10, 11, and 12. I do my step work. I do what I'm told and directed by my higher power. And then I leave the outcomes to my higher power. So, you know, I don't have any control over what's going to happen. But, you know, that's out of my ballpark. And I just trust that hopefully it's going to be my higher power's will, which is going to be good.
Right. Paul, you unmuted. You're just
Yeah,
listening.
no,
Okay. I
yeah,
thought you were
yeah.
going to jump in.
No, I just think it's great. The line that I like on page 88 says, "We alcoholics are undisciplined." So we let God discipline us in the simple way we've just outlined. And really what we've just gone over, it really is simple, and it doesn't need to be more complex than that. And you can study to be a monk, you can study to be whatever you want to do, but none of those are required to continue to maintain and expand our fit spiritual spiritual condition. It won't help you with saying the words, though. That's another program.
God's will. I'm praying for your speech impediment, Paul. Okay, so that is all the time we have for today, guys. If you liked it, if you didn't like it, whatever, just subscribe. If you want to get notices next time we do another podcast, even if we made you mad, just you want to hear it, you want to get mad again, just subscribe. And next week we'll be back to talk about step 12, and then we'll finish the 12 steps, and then we'll come up with some new stuff to talk about, new topics. Please feel free to let us know using our email address. I would like to thank Rebecca and Paul G for being here, and Bill W for writing this cool book, and Dr. Bob for helping him getting the ball rolling with everything. And I think that's it. Anybody got anything else before we say goodbye? Goodbye.